Here we go. You ready?
Yeah, let's go for it. Rob, you go ahead and start first.
Hi, I'm Rob Diarc,
I'm Matt McGee.
and we have just finished wrapping up our production of Pip and Squeek Go Viral, a short film for Heather Henson's Handmade Puppet Dreams. I used to do puppet shows in Riverside, California, in a little theater in the desert called Kid Stuff, and I built the 5 Pip and Squeek shows, and Matthew's father, Randall, and I were really good friends, and he used to bring Matthew and the rest of the kids down to see the shows way back when Matthew was in diapers.
That's right.
And now I'm in diapers.
That's right.
And a couple of years ago, I came down with a diagnosis of Parkinson's, and Matthew was very concerned about Pip and Squeek. Not me, but Pip and Squeek. And he said, what's going to happen to Pip and Squeek? And I said, I guess they're going to retire. And he said, oh, well, you know, I do all your voices. And then he proceeded to do this.
Yeah, I can do this. This is not too hard. I can do Pip and Squeek.
Just like me. So I said, well, what would you do with them if you were going to do this? And he said,
I mentioned that maybe I could do some live shows with them, and I thought maybe that could be something I perform with and do some shows on my own. What do you think about that? It wasn't long after it before he calls me up and says, so I've been talking, we're going to do a short film instead, and would you want to be involved in that? And I said,
I'm very
sure.
pushy.
And I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. And then he said, I want you to make all the Pip and Squeek characters. And I want them to be marionettes, I want them to be rods, I want them to be stop motion, I want them to be posable action figures and the hand puppets.
Because there's a big joke on other puppeteers that we're using every style of puppetry in this. This is the old Pip and Squeek, they're 35 years old, and this is the new Pip and Squeeks that Matthew made, and they're cleaner and shinier and brighter and better constructed. So there you go.
About that, but
No, he invented a thing so that the left and right arms are the same length because there's a prosthetic piece in there. So he's really talented, and he really deserves this. And I mean that in both ways.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Pip and Squeek started out as a couple of characters in a circus show when I was still an apprentice to the French puppet troupe Les Marmousets, and it was 2 clowns, and they had a saxophone and some soapy water, and the gag was the blowing the bubbles. And I thought the funnier part was the one character playing the trick on the other character, cracking up at his own joke and being discovered mid-joke. When Squeek puts bubbles in the saxophone, we know that there's going to be bubbles coming up. But the fact that it tickles him and cracks him up and he starts to laugh about it, that's really, to me, that's the comedy. Because the audience can't help but laugh along with him. The premise of the film came from the fact that Pip and Squeek have been together a really long time, and I thought, since we're starting out with me being old, I thought maybe they have aged and they're in a retirement home. So it would be natural for them to be nostalgic about their career. And I thought, okay, well, what was their career? And we started with the circus because that's where they really started. And then I thought, well, what would they have done in the 60s? So I thought a game show. And then what about in the 70s? A cop drama. Everything was a cop drama or a hospital show. So I thought, okay, what about that? And then in the 80s, I had to be truthful. I had my theater during the 80s, so they would have done their own theater in the 80s as well. It's basically a very close parallel to my experience with the puppets. It's his show now.
That's right.
Yeah.
There is some plans to still do some live performances and bring back that aspect of it, but to have them engaged a lot more virtually, either like a YouTube channel or something, and take them online, and them just doing sort of short little skits and bits and stuff.
Well, I think that the main reason that I started Pip and Squeek is I always loved the dynamic of Burns and Allen, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Martin and Lewis.
There's something classic about having that sort of dynamic today that still works, you know? And so I think it'll be exciting to see that dynamic for a virtual audience.
Plus, it's also fun to see 2 characters that have stuck together for many, many years, and they're still speaking to each other, which is nice. I also like jokes where the adults have to explain it to the kids, like the rabbit ears in the beginning of the movie.
But you also do a lot of what is it? It's just a lot of one-liners, a lot of puns, and a lot of that banter. That's part of the comedy too.
Yeah, the
right?
banter is good, and also the fact that their personalities are so disparate. You don't know what Squeek's going to come up with, and Pip just goes along with it. George Burns used to say, I'd ask Gracie, so how's your brother? And then he'd smoke his cigar for half an hour while she would be funny. So that was all he had to do. And so I liked that Pip just has to look at his brother and go, okay, what? All right. Okay.
And Squeek takes over.
And Squeek takes over. It's a lot of fun. It's been a wonderful opportunity to just film in this beautiful studio in Portland with Ben Mund and his crew. and in this lovely old vaudeville house, which is exactly where this thing should
Perfect
be
for them.
located. And I really appreciate everybody's efforts to help put this together. And thank you for your donations and your time.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.